Anyone who's ever been involved in pastoral ministry will know that when people come to you and they want to share problems in their lives, you find that there are two different types of reaction. There are some people that are coming to talk about the regrets that they have that have come out of what they've done. And then other people will come to you and talk about the regret that they have for what they have done. And there's a difference between repentance, which actually is really being genuinely wanting to turn around from what you've done in the past, to leave it behind and change. And that kind of remorse, which is saying, oh, yeah, I wish it hadn't happened because the consequences aren't very comfortable. And there's a reluctance to take responsibility. When I read Psalm 51, I discover that David took responsibility. I mean, his sin was horrendous, and the consequences of it were horrendous. It affected his family, it had all sorts of consequences, but there's no doubt in my mind that David took responsibility for his sin. And when we do, we discover that God is merciful. Let me read these 3 verses and just hear the heart cry from this one who is truly repentant. Have mercy on me, O God, according to your unfailing love, according to your great compassion, blot out my transgressions. Wash away all my iniquity and cleanse me from my sin. For I know my transgressions, and my sin is always before me. And that's the starting point. When you realize the depth of what you have got wrong, and you know that you're having to cry out to God for mercy so that he can cleanse you. But the good news is, if we cry out like that, he does cleanse us. When Jesus went to the cross, he shed his blood so that we might be cleansed. They needed to shed blood in the Old Testament in order for people to be forgiven, to be cleansed. And Jesus has done that once and for all. And when we come to him, we can come with that same prayer as David has when he says, wash away all my iniquity. You know, some of the things that we do in our lives really need to have that sense of being washed afresh. You know, theologically, there's a sort of pattern where we talk about being justified, which means legally acquitted, and then sanctified, which is set apart. But there's one place in the Bible where it says, but you've been washed, you've been sanctified, you've been justified. It almost like puts it in the wrong order. But sometimes we need to start with that sense of washing. Yeah, it's great to know that we're legally acquitted, but to know that we're clean because of what Jesus has done for us. Like standing in that cleansing stream. I love waterfalls. I just love that impression of just being washed and washed and washed in that flow of God's grace and mercy. So just take hold of that and really celebrate the fact that you can be totally cleansed if you're really repentant.